Hey, friends, and welcome back to the Impact 1 Million podcast show. And I'm your host, Shah Moore. Today's guest is going to help us get a little bit closer to our goal of impacting 1 million people. Sebastian Jania is a former aspiring physiotherapist turned real estate investor, and he's based out of Kitchener, Ontario in Canada. He has created a multiple six-figure business where he works with sellers off-market to help them solve their problems in unique ways. He has dug deep into his personality and his past to get onto the path he is on now, and he's excited to share his experiences and insights with you all today. Sebastian, welcome to our show today.
Thanks so much for having me.
We love having a really deep, honest dive conversation into your life, your business, and I guess the mindset around it. But take us back to your physio days and that, how did you get into that? But then how did you make that decision to go from that into what you're doing now?
Okay, great question. I'm sure there's going to be a lot to kind of unpack there. For myself, I always wanted to be in business in some way. And I had parents kind of pushing me towards going to school as well. And what I kind of realized I was going through high school and going into university was that I had a passion for health and fitness and wellness and everything that kind of comes into that. And I was getting closer to graduating university, and I was convinced that I was going to go study physiotherapy. I was doing a lot of volunteering, working with a lot of different therapists. And as it came closer to graduating and actually writing the exams, it felt kind of less and less like me. And I was getting a lot of recognition from other, for people from various therapists, seeing the potential I had, how I worked with clients. I had kind of led a couple of research studies at the university as well, but it just didn't sit well with me with actually going to further schooling, to spending all this money, to then kind of have a capped salary. And I was just kind of looking at where were these therapists who were 10, 20, 30 years ahead of me, and was that really where I wanted to be? And the answer was no. And so I ended up kind of bombing the entrance exams. My friends, when they got accepted, they went off to schooling, and I decided to take some time off. And at the time, I was working with a life coach who kind of encouraged me to go abroad, get outside of my environment. I was living with my parents at the time, and moved to Spain, got a job teaching online English, and just started meeting with people doing totally different things. So digital nomads, people that were just living kind of that like dream lifestyle that a lot of people have, working on their terms. And I started to see a pattern with a lot of these people. They were in some way involved in real estate. And, along with that, I was doing some different conferences, and kind of, again, being exposed to a totally new ecosystem. And again, the pattern I kept seeing over and over, people were in real estate, using different strategies in real estate, and it had me intrigued. And, I ended up coming back from Spain and wanted to pursue it further, but I didn't know really where to start or where to, how to even get the money for it. Because obviously, as someone who was a student about to go into, master's, usually having, a couple $100,000 down payment is not something that students usually have, of course. And so I started to seek out some kind of coaching, some kind of mentorship, figure out how I could get kind of my feet wet in real estate, and found a mentor in a Facebook group, but I didn't really like how he approached real estate and basically what he would have me do. And then I found a different company where I would work one-on-one with a coach who is in the field. So not someone who had experience 20 years ago doing real estate, but someone who had millions of dollars of active deals. And I started to work with them and started to go out on the different job sites, learn how they negotiated on the deals, learn about different exit strategies with the projects, how to raise capital, how to manage contractors, and these different skills. And I started to just take that and really run with it. And that was kind of those first seeds of getting into real estate flipping, doing land severances, and just different things like that. And that's kind of what really started everything that came kind of afterwards.
Yeah, really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. And there's a couple of things I want to unpack there. So obviously some big decisions, right? You've got on a plane, you've gone to Spain, you've then had conversations with people, it's planted a seed. And, for our friends listening today, we all have an opportunity to move or change our circumstance. I mean, I'm currently traveling. We're 6 weeks into our travel now. We're living currently in an island in Thailand, working remotely, working on the Big Coffee Table book. And, I think it's all a choice for us. But what are some of the when we talk about community a lot on this show, Sebastian, and we talk about the people that surround us on our journey, you've obviously then gone and found a good mentor. But when you first made the decision to go and travel abroad, did you have people supporting you, or did you have people overly protecting you, going, that's silly, just stay here and knuckle down? And, what was the feedback from your community?
Yeah, really great question. So my family was super supportive. So they saw that the path I was heading on didn't quite sit with me. And their goal has always been make sure you're doing what you're loving, regardless of whatever that is. And you'll find a way to be resourceful enough to make it work. Yes. That's always been their approach with me or with my sister. Friends, however, I'd say it was a fairly close-minded way of thinking and in the group that I was in, and especially where two of my best friends, they were going into physiotherapy, and that was a done deal for them. So people always imagine like the three best friends, they all go to school, they all stay friends for a long time after that, and they're kind of on the same trajectory. And so I got pushback from there because they couldn't get it that I was gonna lose this whole opportunity, that I would end up a couple years later going into the same field again, and just they couldn't get it. And I think it ultimately came down to they had family pressures and expectations that people had on them, and so they couldn't not listen to that.
Yes.
And again, I think for anyone that does make a big pivot like that, it takes a certain person to do it and have the guts to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And it takes the right community around you. And what I love about that is that, great that you had family support, and not all of our friends listening do. And so one thing I would like to say to you, if you're listening and you don't have that support from the people that you kind of feel like you should have, go out and find people who will support you. There are so many different platforms, mentoring groups, coaching groups, Facebook groups, LinkedIn, wherever, where there will be people who will celebrate you and not just encourage you, but tell you to play an even bigger game, right? And then potentially give you a bit of a playbook to do so. So there's always going to be someone, even if it's not the people that we think should. And I love that so I want to tap in now to the vision you saw that your community or your friends that you went to school with didn't. They had their own path mapped out for them and they were happy with that, but you saw a different vision for yourself. And this touches on a point that I've spoken about once before on the show, Sebastian, where we all have our own lens of the world, right? And so my childhood story, I'm Indian, and so there's some things that went on there when I was younger, and I had a lens of the world. I was supposed to be married at 16. And so now the work I do, helping to shine the light on great people that I believe have a message or a story to share, and we do that through our publishing and media company. And my lens is different because of my background. And your lens, you saw more for you than just a capped salary, you said. So how would you encourage our listeners today to make sure that they really value the lens of their world? And if they truly believe somewhere in their gut, their instinct, whatever it is, that there is more for them, what words would you give them to encourage them to keep asking that question, keep moving forward?
I think if we don't listen to let's call it like the intuition, or
Yes.
what we feel is ultimately best for us, at some point down the line, those regrets are going to come up.
Yeah.
That's kind of the first thing. And so either we deal with the discomfort now, or we deal with it 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. And the other thing too is, I think with Charlotte, what you said before regarding support from people, if we don't have someone around us that can see that vision and push us towards that vision, well, we need to find people that do. And we need to find those people as soon as possible. Because again, at some point, if we don't listen to that intuition and that vision that we have, we're going to regret it. Someone's going to say something that's going to trigger us, or we're going to see someone that succeeded, and we just sit there 20 years from now thinking to ourselves, well, I should have, could have, would have done the same thing 20 years ago. And we see that the people who are winning around us, they're not really better than us. They just dove into that discomfort a lot faster, and they were just committed to working and resolving whatever there was to work through.
Yeah. Great points. Great answer. Thanks for sharing that. And listeners, I'm sure, friends, you probably took lots of notes there as well, because there's some good points in as far as, jumping in. I always say jump and build the plane on the way down. And just because someone doesn't see your vision yet doesn't mean they won't later, but it also doesn't mean that if they're saying don't do it, it's not that they're saying it from a place of, I don't want you to do it because I don't want you to succeed. Often they're doing it from a place of love and protecting you. And it's like, I'm sure there's many people I know in my community who think we're crazy. It wasn't easy leaving our family, our kids, our grandkids, our home, our beautiful friends, to go and travel the world and put this coffee table book together. They may not see the vision, but I see the gift this book is going to give to the world. I feel like this book's going to be in boardroom tables globally. It's going to be in coffee tables in offices. It'll be in conferences, universities, hotels, because it's about creating impact and giving back. And our knowledge is the biggest gift we can give anyone. So when you found your mentor, Sebastian, what are the things that you really felt were the biggest changes within yourself by having a trusted mentor, as you say, hands-on, feet on the ground, was doing multi-million deals, so you could learn on the job, so to speak? What were some of the biggest lessons you learnt from him?
One of the biggest things would be definitely to think bigger. Because I went into it thinking, okay, to make $100,000 would make a difference. And then I started to see the kind of deals that they were doing, and seeing how many millions of dollars of invested capital they had in those deals, how many different projects going at once. And that opened my eyes up to that the money, how would trying to remember exactly how we put it, the money needs us more than we need the money. So this sort of mentality around, if there's opportunities for people to make money in various investments or various strategies, and people know, like, and trust you, then they will be more than willing to part with that money for the vision that we create as investors, and they go further with that. And then like I said, with that, just looking at things from a point of scale. What would a $20 million how would a $20 million company operate with their money? How would they manage 20, 30 different jobs on the go at once? And rather than how would the Sebastian at the very start of his journey do things? And that was the biggest shift. Because that, then if we're already kind of future pacing ourselves, then we're just going to kind of collapse the time between where we are and where we're really headed.
That's a great point. And you kind of just summarized what we do as a brand. Is we help our clients become known, liked, and trusted, and shine the light on what they do so that their network trusts them. The other thing I love about what you just said is that I heard years ago, and I may have been Oprah that said it, and she said, how would the millionaire inside you respond? Right? So as you say, it's about collapsing time. And if you can, billionaire, whatever you're striving for, it's the same principle. And when things happen or opportunities present themselves, I've asked myself for years, what would the millionaire, multimillionaire inside of me do? How would she respond? And, friends, ask yourself that question when you get up tomorrow. When a situation presents itself or an opportunity presents itself, ask yourself what the millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire, whatever you want to say, trillionaire, gazillionaire, how would they respond, right? It's all just numbers, it's all zeros, but it's about the person you become. And for me, a big part of what we do is I'm an ambassador for Destiny Rescue, and we fundraise through our media agency. Like I have a spotlight, be it the TV show, podcast show, books, magazines, right? And so we shine the light on our clients, and then part of our funds go towards rescuing sex trafficked children. So, and I also believe it's really important, Sebastian, which is what I want to ask you now, is the importance of giving back. You reach a level of success and you strive for significance and to matter, to leave an impact, right? It's the Impact 1 Million show. That's what we're all about. But then we also want to become significant. We want to create legacies. What is a give back that you have? If you have one now, are you supporting any causes at the moment?
I mean, for kind of similar to what you shared there. I mean, I'm very passionate about that same sort of topic. For us, like Operation Underground Railroad, which sounds like kind of fairly similar sort of channel to help with that same cause, has been something that we've contributed to. I'd like to have personally a bigger impact on my parents and their retirement. I'd like to start shifting my focus that way now that all of my own needs are met. I'm excelling in different areas. Now I want to take care of them more, because I honestly wouldn't be where I am today without them and the opportunities that they've given me. And just having a bigger impact locally in the community. I've done a lot of work in the past with like older adults in retirement homes and just various community living. And I'm just very passionate about that cause as well. A lot of those people don't have many people visiting them, many people to put a smile on their face, and just even simply volunteering in those areas I love to do because of that impact. And then if with the financial impact on top of it, I mean, that just helps even more.
Absolutely. And, often people will talk about chasing the dollar, right? And I've heard many times, you chase it, it runs from you. When you do good work and you do work that impacts and changes someone's life and makes a better platform for them to operate in, money just comes in abundance. And that's a lot of the work we do at everything we do, really, around the word impact, positive impact in our lives and other people's. And so when you think about older people, Sebastian, I mean, our kids are our future. We get that. And they need all the support that we can give them, especially in such a high-tech world that they live in. And then when you think about our aging population, or the grey tsunami, as someone referred it to, which I loved, there are a lot of more mature people who need support and they are feeling alone. And money does buy us choice, right? It allows us to choose to support and give back. And I feel like as a community, there's a lot more all of us can do. And by sharing that today, you may have inspired some of our friends to go and visit one of their aged care facilities in their area and, do a coffee morning or read a book to someone or put a smile on someone's dial, right? It's a free thing that we can do. So, Sebastian, what's in the future for you? What are your plans moving forward with your business and everything?
Yeah, so for now, the plans for the future to add on a couple other provinces for where we where we acquire properties, where we flip properties, where we do some wholesaling. It's just adding additional provinces and scaling up a bigger team. Up until I'd say the last couple months before we brought on a couple of virtual assistants, it was very much myself, my partner, just kind of grinding it out. And now it's about how do we take the skills that we've learned, pass those on, and really build up a culture and step more into the leader role, rather than more of the operator as it has been in the last little while. So it's adding on additional provinces, scaling up the various marketing channels, and just continuing to serve everyone we work with, and just making sure that we're giving everyone the highest level of service, and that even as we're scaling, that we're able to maintain that. Because I find with a lot of companies, as they start to grow, that attention to the client seems to drop, and that's something I really want to focus on not having happen with us. I want people to have like the small business feel, but at scale.
Yes. Yeah, great. That'll be interesting to see how you're able to master that, because it is a very fine line on how you can do that, especially when you scale. I noticed that within our own business. We still do really try hard to do it, and apparently our clients do feel that, but it does take a lot of effort. So it'll be great to see how you master that. And Sebastian, as we wrap up today, if we've got any friends listening to this going, okay, he's really pivoted in a big way, physio to real estate, what advice would you give to them to listen to that little voice inside? What tips would you give them that you used on your journey?
Yeah, I would spend a lot of time in self-reflection. I Prior to really going deep into real estate, I mean, I had a number of months where I was, it's going to sound a little bit cliche, but I was meditating many hours a day, journaling, all this stuff that people talk about. But I guess maybe what was different, it wasn't just all about happy thoughts and feeling great. It was about actually going deep into the past, deep into why maybe I had the results I was having at that point in time, and just really going deep into what I wanted. So it's great to have that voice in our head, but I think it's about going much deeper into it, and the more attention we pay to it, the more things just kind of open up for us, and we're able to actually get a direction from that voice. And we'll find that as we continue to trust that, new opportunities come up, and we seem to just always know when to make the right decision because we're in tune with that. But the moment we take our attention off of that voice and we start to listen to what our environment is telling us, what the social media or whatever it happens to be, and we put all of our focus on that, that's when the confusion comes up and the lack of direction comes up. So I think it's about really listening to it, but going much deeper than that as well.
Yeah, great advice there. Thank you so much, Sebastian, for being on our show today and sharing that. I'm sure that our friends listening got a lot out of it. So really appreciate your time. And friends, please make sure you give us a follow, leave us a like, and let Sebastian know one takeaway from what he shared with us today on the show. Thank you for being with us today, Sebastian.
Thank you so much for having me.